Well, people often have mistaken notions of originality. They think, oh, I'm doing something different from what everybody else has done. And I would say, no, you're actually joining in with a tradition. And I think originality comes from your standing in your own angle toward that tradition. So I write out of a religious tradition that goes back to the Book of Psalms, that goes back to the great 17th century metaphysical poets like John Donne and George Herbert, whom I spend a great deal of time reading. I go back very much to T.S. Eliot. I can feel his cadences behind what I write. And Eliot was deeply influenced by John Donne and the Book of Psalms as well. The King James Bible, the rhythms of the King James Bible are in my work. And so the political side of my work comes out of my own activism. I've been an anti-war activist since the Vietnam War. When I was 20 years old, I suddenly looked around and realized that we'd done something very stupid in invading Vietnam. And this was a grotesque error that would lead to 1 million deaths in Vietnam. And many years later, 40, 50 years later, looks like an absurdity. Just like the Iraq War really fired me up because it was the single greatest foreign policy decision of the 20th century, leading to the deaths of 5,000 Americans, 150,000 minimum Iraqis, the displacement of 1 million people in Iraq, tens of thousands injured, and will cost this taxpayers in America $1 trillion, maybe $3 trillion by the time we've paid for all the veterans over 30, 40 years. So these decisions really do fire me up, that we made these bad decisions made by our government in our name. I hate to see people going to war in our name for no reason. And so these kinds of subjects, which are human subjects, politics is simply how we behave in a group, and whether we act like a bully or whether we act out of concern for other people. And the American government over a couple of centuries has at times acted benevolently, trying to help other people. At times it's acted to extend its own empire, or to for reasons that we can't even discern at this point. Why we invaded Iraq, I think, will take us many decades of research to unpack.